Um, For us, we wanted to take a look at one of our processes that was impacting our inventory and our FTR scores within policy services. So what we decided to do was to take a look at the LS transactions that were being populated for our ordinary life team into the policy workforce system. So in order to do that, we did some research and analysis, and we used the A3 model to help us drive forward what we wanted to accomplish. So with that, with our analysis, we took a look at what the current conditions were and the current problems that we were facing. And doing that, we used the 5 whys to come up with what our root causes were to solve our problems. With us in our particular case, though, we only came up with 4 whys of what things that were causing issues for us. And with that, once we came up with the root cause, we took and looked at our target conditions that we wanted to accomplish without the problems that we were facing. And with that, we developed our action plan, and we were able to reduce the inventory, I think about 30,000 files?
30,000 a year.
Yeah, and improve our FTR score. We're projecting to be able to improve it by 0.5. Problem was we were indexing status sheets that were not really serviceable. They were more like for research purposes, but they were going into the PSW workflow system, but it was not an actual work item for the specialist. So what we did, we decided to still have those status sheets indexed, but we decided to send them to archive, and instead of it being a work item, into PSW. So we were able to reduce inventory. As far as the 5 why process, it wasn't really difficult to go through it. We just had to decide, what were the root causes. So some of the things that we looked at was why does the LS transaction code have poor FTRs. So with that, we could go back and look at our monthly FTR rates that were impacting that team to see and research what LS transactions were coming back. And then we also wanted to look at why are the status sheets being introduced into PSW, and that's where we could find out that we were having status sheets that were not work items going into PSW. And then we had to also look at what our vendor BankTech was doing and to put those status sheets in there to see what they could do on their end to help us reduce that volume, as well as what type of maintenance was necessary to index those transactions into. For its help through the process, we really had to reach out to the team, number one, that was being impacted, which was our ordinary life team. We also had to reach out to partnership control because we did have to look at what our third-party vendor BankTech was doing as far as their process. So they had to collaborate with PS in order to solve our issues. To look at and track our success measures, we are looking at creating or have created a report that will look at the volume of transactions that are being indexed into PSW on a weekly basis, and we are going to track that for maybe for a couple of months to see how the inventory has reduced over the production week. The process is an easy process. It does make you think about what you're looking for and what you are trying to solve, and it makes you put a lot of thought into coming up and seeing what your root causes are, and to help you build your business case of what you're trying to accomplish. Your turn.
Yeah, as far as the process goes, this is something that it can seem overwhelming at first if you haven't done one before. There's a lot of boxes on that sheet of paper that have to be filled in, and you don't really know what to put in each box. But as you go through the process, you see that it makes you think in a more methodical way of what is my business case, what are my current issues that are occurring, what is the root cause of my current issue, what do I want this issue to look like in the future, and then what is the action plan that I'm going to put in place to get there. So a lot of analysis and a lot of analysts have already been using this type of flow. They just didn't realize they were using A3 already. this is from the standpoint of an analyst putting a work product together. This should expedite the process because there isn't any time being spent on the look and feel of the document. Things that don't really add substance to the actual analysis itself. Whereas if you go through this process, you're really focusing on the key deliverables that you're trying to accomplish with this. This is a fantastic process. I think it really helped Katrina in going through and making sure that we touched on every key point that the A3 tries to accomplish. In fact, we like this process so much that we have actually reached out to training to have a training class conducted for our analysts, so that everyone can get formal training on the process so that they can all take their analysis to the next level.
Danny was very skeptical of this process to begin with. After we decided that we were going to use this as standard operating procedure in PS support, Danny has now become a big fan of it. He had done previous analysis using fishbone diagrams and things of that nature, and found the benefit to be expeditious delivery of the work items that go to policy service pick.